Okay.
If you go,
Oh, I know how to do it.
okay,
I've got that down, but okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to go ahead and get started, everyone. So I'm it's super fun to see you all. I'm going to spend just a little bit of time here going through a beginning sort of just overview of things, and then you're going to get a chance to talk with people in your that are job alike or grade level people. So just really quickly, a few Zoom norms, which thanks Michelle for starting us off with that. That was great. Is that you can mute yourself. In fact, you should mute while you're not talking. At any point, if you want to say something, ask a question or speak up, just unmute yourself and start talking. Your picture or whatever you have as an icon or words, if your video is not going, will pop up to the forefront if you start talking. And you can also stop the video if you don't want to be seen. You can, when you're on a Zoom call, it's great to just use hand signals sometimes. So like if I ask a question like, is everybody good with that? Everybody can just like give thumbs up, you know, instead of saying something out loud. There's also a thumbs up feature on Zoom that you could try to find and play around with if you want to. And then the last thing is that there's a chat that you can type questions into. So if you want to access that chat, it's down, let's see, I'm trying to find it because I shared my screen. So hold on. If you go up, like toggle to the top, or sometimes it's at the bottom, you'll see a chat.
It's at the bottom.
Okay.
At the bottom along the taskbar on the bottom.
Okay, great. So I have actually Toral is here watching that chat. So for me, so that because it's difficult to sort of facilitate and be able to watch the chat at the same time. But if you want to ask a question that way, that's great too. So you can either chat just to Toral or you can chat to everyone. So when you go in to type your message, there's a drop-down menu at the right above where you're typing where you can click everyone or you can chat to just one person privately. So you just want to be aware, like if you meant to chat to just one person privately, you want to ensure before you like hit enter that it actually says that person's name instead of everyone. Otherwise what you're chatting will go to everyone. And you're also welcome to just choose Toral if you just want to ask her a question that either her or I can answer. Does anybody have a question about those sort of norms for Zoom? Okay. So the agenda today for our meeting, I'm going to do a whole group overview. It's going to be hopefully pretty quick. And then I'm going to send you to a breakout room. I'll give directions about that right before I do it, but will just happen automatically. You'll have about 30 minutes, probably at this point, it'll be about 30 minutes to just have a conversation with your grade level team or a job-alike person. Those breakout rooms have already been set up. Administrators have been assigned to some of them. It'll just go automatically. And you'll have about 30 minutes. There will be a facilitator, an identified facilitator in that group that's gonna sort of ask some questions and facilitate some discussion. And then you'll come back at 10:15 to the whole group for just a wrap up. And then at 10:30, when the call is officially supposed to be ended, you can click leave meeting and be done and log and sign off and get out of the meeting yourself. But I'm willing to stay on at 10:30 for anybody that has additional, like just an additional Q&A time after the 10:30 official end time. So that's our agenda. So our charge, this was the charge partly laid out by Chris Reichtel and OSPI for all staff that are engaging in school closures right now. but it's also the charge from our district. And really what it is that we are supposed to partner with families to sort of continue some learning that's not necessarily new learning, maintain community and support well-being. So our primary goal is really to solidify understanding of standards previously taught and ensure competence of previous materials. That's the primary goal of this time. It's really not intended to be time for introducing new content. Any learning resources that would potentially expose students to new content are really just exploratory and to try something, not to achieve competence. In fact, you would need to have the understanding that students might come back to school not having done whatever it is you've provided for them to do, because these are just opportunities. It's not necessarily something that we're expecting students to do. So you would just need to be aware of that. And not all students are going to have access to the same learning during this closure. So you have to be aware of that. I'm going to get a little more in depth into this. And this language on these next few slides was in the new contract language that was sent out by Aaron Gibson and Mark Wenzel earlier this week. He sent a joint email with Aaron just sort of saying what we had agreed on as a bargaining team. And this language is in that document that was attached. So the goal is to really offer optional enrichment learning opportunities. And this is a chance to maintain student learning. It's really can be seen as like something you might provide during the summertime that would sort of prevent a summer slide. It's a great opportunity to review, refresh, reinforce. So nothing during this time is graded. Nothing is expected. It's all just provided as an opportunity. And we have to do that because we know we have students that will not have the support or ability to engage in the learning that's provided. We just know we won't. So I'll give an example. I was talking about with a couple of first grade teachers around assigning a module on Zern during the closure that is not major work of the grade. It's a geometry module. It's upcoming work. It's not reviewing, but it's also work that you maybe aren't going to get to this year, and you wouldn't expect students to do it anyway. So it's one that you could definitely share. I'm going to go to the next slide. Actually, does anybody have any questions about this before we move on? Okay. Okay. So you have been encouraged to take technology home that would support any kind of remote learning that you would be doing.
And you're sure you don't, were you using,
It's turned off, no.
you weren't using
No,
these
that wasn't
wireless?
done. That has
Okay.
nothing to do with it.
Somebody's not muted.
Headphones, I tried to-
So feel free to go into your buildings and take what you need home with you to set up a workstation at home. There is a very strong likelihood that there will be a period of time where buildings will be completely not accessible by anyone. So if there's anything you think you might need. Now, we are operating currently under the understanding that this is 4 weeks of learning, 1 week now prior to spring break. We have a spring vacation where we are truly honoring that as spring vacation, and then 3 weeks after, before the the date to resume school happens. So if anything changes between now and then, such as a extended time for a closure, that you would have the opportunity at that point to access your building and get things that you need. So we are understanding this is just for the 4 weeks, but if you want to be trying some things out and, you know, working on technology just as a trial for right now, get what you need, because the buildings are going to be closed off probably. So this is also language from our partnered agreement with the district. Teachers will need to communicate with families weekly. It's in the language that we need to do that, to offer social emotional support and remind families of optional enrichment learning activities. So one thing I would advise is that if you don't have sort of a really easy sort of distribution list for quick email communication to all families, I would suggest that that would be something you would do right away on Monday, the beginning of your workday, or this afternoon would be to organize that. And this is even true for specialists, such as speech language pathologists. You would need to quickly send out something weekly. It doesn't have to be on Monday, but it just sometime through the week. And it could just be like, hey, just checking in, you know, wanted to let you know I'm thinking about you during this time. And here's a couple of resources if you want to work on some speech sounds at home or something like that. It can be something really simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. So aside from that once a week communication, teachers are going to be asked to communicate with families who email you during the workday. So any kind of inquiries you get or emails you receive, I'm sure you've already all been doing that already this week. I mean, I know you have. So that will just continue, with the exception of spring break. I will say, because you don't have to respond to emails during spring vacation if you don't want to. If you decide to sort of digitally check out during that time, I would suggest you put an auto reply, which if you need to reach out to me to have me help you with that, I would be happy to. Just email me, Angie, how do I do that? So that families get an auto reply like, I'm out, not checking email during spring break. If this is urgent, email, you know, my principal. Otherwise, I'll respond to emails when I resume work on whatever date, so that families know that you're not responding during spring vacation. Principals are going to be sending out a weekly Google form to their staff just as a way to touch base with staff. I think some principals might find other ways or be engaging in other avenues for reaching out and communicating to staff, but they will be sending out a Google form asking you some simple questions around what connections have you made? Do you need any support? So be expecting that as well. Okay, any questions? Erin sent an email to all AEA members' home email addresses that had this information in it, and it actually came from WEA in Fourth Corner, but I wasn't sure that all AEA members receive those emails to their home email addresses, so I wanted to just make sure I included it. You can just look at this. I think it's just an important reminder that your contract work hours are still contract work time. So you want to be cautious about what you are doing during that time. Okay, so I'm going to launch in. So I'll just go ahead and tell you that Casey, mostly Casey, Michelle, and I have been working all week long on developing sort of a learning plan or learning resources to share out with families. We've been kind of doing it in a vacuum. One of the purposes of today's meeting is to really get all your eyes on this. It is a fluid working website and document that will be changed and updated and edited. We want input. So that's like the reason why we're here today, one of the reasons. So Robert went ahead and developed a website. It is live, and you can access it now actually if you go to the main ASD website and go to the Family Student tab. But I'm going to go ahead and walk you through it. And I want to tell you that this is going to be the main bulk of your conversation in your breakout rooms when you go there, is going to be around giving feedback or providing feedback and some time to really look at this site. So I'm going to do a really quick overview. Hopefully, will you just give me a thumbs up if you can see the Anacortes Learns website on your screens? Okay, awesome, thanks. So this is what it looks like. This is the home page, and a link is going to be shared out to all families, but again, it's already live and you can get to it from the main ASD website now. And you'll notice at the top, this main page kind of has some information on it. There's how to get help from technology. This is families. How can families get help? Technology help. They can put in an incident IQ. There's information about who to contact. There's information about who to contact for all kinds of different things on the main page. And then you'll see at the top, there's tabs for grade levels. I will say for all of our special services and special education people that are on the call, we do have a tab for special education. There was nothing on it even today. So Robert hid it. But after today, I'm hoping that all of you, after your breakouts and maybe further collaboration after the call, will have some ideas about things we can put on a special education tab. I'm going to go to the grades K2 one for you to see what's there. What we have and the 3.5 looks the same, mostly the same. And so what we have here is a sample daily schedule with links to independent learning resources and ideas. What is on this page is meant to be very general for all students in the grade band. We recognize that you will have things that you will want to send out to your families that are just like for your class or just for your classes or just your students. So that's not what's here. This is really meant for just general resources and ideas. So there's a schedule. So one thing we've heard is that parents really want to know what the schedule should look like. You'll notice we've got a morning movement time. The morning academic time is 90 minutes. And we have this resources and tools as a link, so I'll show that to you in a moment. We have an entire hour of creative time. And then you'll notice in the afternoon, we have academic time, we have electronics permitted. So the idea really is that we want to provide activities and ideas for enrichment and optional learning that are both digital and not digital. So the idea is that students in grades K2 and 3.5 would not be on their devices all day long, doing only digital learning, that wouldn't be best. And then we have another afternoon fresh air movement time and some end of the day time. So the next thing down is our learning resources. So we've got a suggested time that parents might utilize for spending with each day on different sort of content areas. And then we have two sections here. We've got a menu of possible independent learning ideas. Now this is what we want your input on. So and I know you're not going to have a large amount of time to digest all of this today when you go to your breakout sessions, but we want like continued input in things that need to be changed or different about this, like even after the call today. These documents are fluid and can be edited at any time. So these are non-electronic ideas for learning that are grouped in categories. So we've got literacy, we've got ideas for chores, we've got ideas for physical activity, math and science, creativity, social, emotional. And then we've got a menu of possible independent learning digital resources. So again, these are just general things that students can access. They're not specific in terms of something you've necessarily used in your classroom or something that kids have necessarily used. But again, they're in categories here. Okay, and then down at the bottom, we've got a link to Clever. Clever is going to become more important than ever during this school closure, because it's going to be one of the ways that you can provide more like class specific or grade specific or building specific resources and tools to your students. So if you have something that you've been using in your classroom, or even something you'd like to send out or push out to your students that maybe isn't something for everyone to use across the district, you would be putting links on Clever for that. And you can also send emails to parents. An example is I was talking to Octavia last night about music, and I was saying on this resource page here, if there's a music resource that you want all kids in K2 across the district to be able to use for a resource, you would put it here. But if Octavia has something specific for just Island View 4th grade students that she wants them to have access to for practicing their recorders, for instance, she might email that resource out to just 4th grade families at Island View. And she might send an email to Danica and Pat and say, Danica and Pat, can you please put this on your Clever page, your teacher Clever page? So students that are 4th graders only at Island View have access to this resource. So there's different ways to communicate to parents and for different purposes. One is big and general, that's this website. The other one is really classroom specific or grade level specific or building specific, and that would be through email and Clever. I'm going to pause for a second and see if anybody has any questions about that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
When parents see the page you're showing right now, is there a way for the kids to log on to Clever through that? Or do we need to send out individual emails with login information?
Great question. So right here, hopefully you can see this, there's a link to Clever. So if I click that, it's going to go to the Clever login page. Students would obviously need to either know their Google email and password, that is their district email and password, or they'd have to have their badge. So right here it says how to access district supported learning via Clever. So this link right here is to a document that will explain to parents how to get their child's password and email, and then how to access Clever from home. So I would also suggest, other than, you know, parents could click this and they could get their kids' email and password, which is, you know, for the district, and they'd be able to go and log on to their child onto Clever. I'm going to suggest though that teachers send home via email or however you communicate with families, information about how your individual students can access Clever. We have a sample, I will share it out after this Zoom call, that Julie Riccardi sent to her families. She had a letter that she typed up, and she actually went into her Clever badge document for her class and just snipped a picture of their badges and sent it to each student. So there's multiple ways to do that. And at the end of the call, actually today, at the end of this Zoom meeting, I'm gonna put up a list of sort of people who are identified experts on certain things that can help other teachers. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but we might actually also next week be scheduling some tutorials for teachers via Zoom. Julie Riccardi can do a Zoom call to do a Clever tutorial for staff. And Kirsten Holmes has offered to do a tutorial on Seesaw and to support people with using Seesaw. I will definitely do one to support you with Zoom so that you can schedule your own Zoom meetings, maybe just with each other. If you want to be checking in with your grade level team at your building throughout this closure, you can schedule a Zoom meeting with your teammates and have meetings. So I'm going to show you how to do that next week, early in the week. And so reach out if you need help with any of that. But I would suggest sending information to families about how students can get onto Clever.
Angie, can I just add to the sending the email to parents with a badge? My first idea was to have it in a document and just cut and paste it into an email. But what happened to my badges when I did that, some of my badges didn't transfer well. So I'd recommend cut and paste your main body of the letter, then go into the body of the email and then paste in the badge. Just a tip.
Thanks, Julie. And I
Also,
think, okay,
Angie,
Danica.
remember that some parents aren't going to be able to print those. So if they don't have a way to print it, it's not going to work.
Right. So if parents can't print, they have to use student email, which is also super easy. And I think once they do it that way, they won't have to enter the email and the password again if they just have Google, if they have it, Google Save it.
You can also hold up a phone with, if they open the email on a phone and then use that Clever badge to their computer. So if they don't have a way to print it, it's easy. That's how I did it in my classroom when I lost badges.
Okay, so that tip to parents would be really important, that they could just do that. Oh, thanks, Kelsey.
Angie, will you scroll down on this document? Go back to the Clever link. Yeah, right there. No, down farther. So you could copy this link and paste it in an email for parents, but would you open that, Angie, and then keep scrolling down because it shows primary students, keep scrolling down on that to, it shows them how keep going there. Look at number 3 there. It shows them typically how the email goes for kids who don't typically use an email. This is what it looks like. There's a couple, they're not always 001 or 000, but you have access to that list through Skyward, and so do parents, right?
Right. So and I just want to just reiterate as we're going through all this, that all of this, we need to have this really big assumption that all of this is optional, and we know we won't have some families accessing these things because potentially they're just not like literally able to do it because of their home situation, or parents are working and all of that. So I just want to caveat that. But Michelle, thank you. I think actually the district email is typically 000, unless, like my son Ethan, there's 2 E Millers in the district. So he's E Miller 001 because he's a second E Miller. But I think usually it's 000, almost always. Okay. We added at the bottom screen time guidelines because we just really want to, and you'll see here for elementary age kids, it's really 1 to 1.5 hours. Like this is the American Academy of Pediatrics. This is what their recommendation is for screen time. We just want to reiterate, it's not a good idea to have kids on screens all day, even if it's learning. It's important that kids do other things. And I would encourage you if you're sending emails, to send digital resources as well as things that students can do that is not digital. It could be, things like, I mean, we have a wide variety on here, so there's lots of things to choose. And then again, now this is something that we added for across all grade bands. Khan Academy put out this wonderful resource, and it's very similar to what we have as far as like there's a schedule, and there's great things on it, like listen to an educational podcast, and there's podcasts that are grade specific. So this one you'll see is for kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, and these are great podcasts for younger children. There's digital and non-digital resources on here, so we just added that as an additional something for parents to look at. And then that's the website. And again, this is fluid, can be changed, can be edited, modified in any way. Michelle and Casey and I will be, and Robert will be constantly working on this. So as you go through and you have ideas about things to add, you might say we need to delete this link. We can definitely do that.
Hey, Ange,
Yes.
are we gonna provide like any packets like at the drop off, like
Oh.
for images?
So we're not, but I will tell you this, Kelsey, and everyone. Megan Clancy has become an expert at figuring out how to link PDF resources to Clever. So if you have work that is in the form of a PDF, reach out to Megan. I'm throwing her out there, and she can talk to you about how to do that and put it on as a Clever link. And you're welcome to also send PDFs as attachments to emails to families. You just need to understand that they might not be able to print those. So
It's just easier, like my own child right now sitting there with a packet. It's very nice for parents.
right. So I feel like
They're gonna reconsider.
I don't know. I think that it's been an overwhelming task to even just figure out like lunch distribution.
Right.
And so to have like resources that are maybe teacher specific or grade specific, and who would those even go to? So right now, I will say that I've heard Casey say several times over the last week, what we're developing right now is a floor.
Okay.
You know, teachers are going to go up to a ceiling, some teachers, you know, but we're doing a floor. So the no distributing paper materials right now is a floor situation. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to.
Angie, just to kind of go off of what Kelsey was saying, or just looking for clarification, if a parent wants to meet us to get some materials that perhaps they didn't get before we left school, is that, or other possible printed materials, is that okay? Or are we just not going there? Are we not doing any kind of physical parent contact if they request it?
You know what, Chad? I feel like I need to ask somebody higher up than me to answer that question. My initial instinct is to say just no to that. I mean, I just think it's opening a giant can of worms potentially. And with the social distancing rules and trying to adhere to that tightly. But I can follow up.
Okay.
Ask and send out something. I'm sure I'll be sending out a follow-up email to this call later today, so I'll put that on my list.
I'll just jump in real quick, and I would say that I tend to agree with Angie in terms of a little bit of a slippery slope, but Island View, at least for the time being, will be open for our childcare. So if a teacher wanted to get packets to families in the near future as a priority item and left them at Island View, we will have an administrator daily at Island View, and we could arrange for that to happen. But, you know, we'd probably want that to be soon and not everybody doing it just to be able to accommodate. But so case by case, I'd say reach out to us if you feel there's a strong need to do that.
I'd just like kind of follow up on that though. I think with the childcare, the plan is for parents to drop their kids off and not enter the building, I think. So
Yes, in fact,
that gives us an advantage to Island View families that other schools wouldn't have. I don't know.
and in fact, they have to do temperature checks and health screening
Yeah.
even of all the students that are entering the building. So
I also saw earlier on your screen some great suggestions of not online things that kids could do with just plain paper and pencil, whether it was journal prompts or writing letters to relatives, etc. So I don't think everything that is paper pencil has to be packet.
Okay, so I'm going to send you to your breakout rooms now. So let me tell you how to move forward really quickly. This next part is really around collaboration and PD. Again, we have teachers who have stepped forward and said they would answer questions, maybe host some Zoom meeting tutorials to help. Julie is one that is really expert on Clever. Kirsten Holmes is expert with Seesaw. I even though messed up today, am an expert on scheduling Zoom meetings. If you want to schedule a Zoom meeting with your grade level team, your content-based team, you know, PE teachers want to meet later today or sometime next week, or if people want to get together with various groups, I will be happy to walk you through how to schedule those meetings and host them. So reach out to me for that. And I know there's others. The other things that you're going to probably in the future, next week and after spring vacation, be getting information about is some possible optional book studies that you can engage in during this time. Teacher collaboration, that is just that we want to encourage you to collaborate with your people during this closure. So Zoom is one way to do that. Email is another way. But we want you to be working together with, even if it's just in your building, the 5th grade teachers at one building want to have a regular Zoom call with each other to check in. We want to encourage you to do that. Robert's going to be supporting some further digital support for people. Robert has also worked super diligently to create not just the ASD Learns site for parents and families, but an ASD Teaches site for teachers. It's phenomenal. The place, and I'll send the link out, but the place you can access it from the main ASD website is also on the drop down under teachers. You can access that site. So I'm going to show it to you just really quickly. So this is not ASD Learns, this is ASD Teaches. This is specifically for teachers. And as you can see at the top, there's a whole page for Clever. This is all kinds of information you could ever want or need to know about Clever, along with resources. There's one for Seesaw. Everything you could possibly want to learn or know about Seesaw. There's Zoom. So all kinds of helpful resources for learning and using Zoom. So again, I'm just going to go to ASD so I can show you what I meant. This is just the main district website. If I toggle under students and families, there's Anacortes Learns. If I toggle over staff, there's Anacortes Teaches. So those two places, one for families, one for staff. The Anacortes Teaches one is really for you to get support with technology and using technology. This is really important. I'm going to let you look through this for a minute. We know families are going to be reaching out, maybe more so than usual. So this might answer some of your communication questions.
Hey, Angie?
Yes.
Can I ask a question? What if you have a family that's having trouble with the login issues to Clever, and we can't troubleshoot it? Is there somebody we should send them to?
Yeah, David, Jennifer here at the tech office actually was on the phone yesterday with several families, and she walked them through how to access some things. Mm-hmm. She would be happy to support so families, and she'll talk with them like individually.
And who is that again?
Jennifer Goldner. Is that how you say her last name?
And actually, David, she wants people to give out her cell phone number. She loves this. So her cell phone number is listed.
Yeah, it's on, I went back to the Anacortes Learns site for parents right here, David. And her number is right here where it says middle school families. And I know it's, and also elementary. So this is like literally her cell phone number, and parents can put in an incident IQ, but literally give her a call if family needs support.
So Jennifer Goldner.
Yep.
Okay.
recommending communication be through like district email or district approved methods. You know, we don't really, staff shouldn't be, especially if you're like messaging like a student, that should never be like via your cell phone or texting. So if you have a question about that, or like if you have something else you'd like to use, such as like, I know there was a question about like the Remind app or something like that, I would say ask your principal. I would ask your principal before using something that's not like district approved.
Angie,
Yes.
we had a conversation about, do we contact the parents or the kids on the wellness check? And Brian recommended that any email that we are sending to our students should be CC'd to the parents as well. But if you're using Google Classroom and it's education-based, that could go through that on the discussions.
Perfect. Thanks, Danica. If you're Zoom, if you were in a situation where, and this came up at the high school meeting, but if you were wanting to do a Zoom one-on-one with a student, if that was necessary for some reason, you would need to invite the parent to that Zoom as well. And the parent might not join, but at least that way the parent is aware and you're communicating.
Yeah, we also were wondering, I noticed in order for the parents to access that Anacortes Learns, they have to go through Skyward to get their username and password. Do they know how to do that?
They might not, and they could reach out to Jennifer or reach out to on that Incident IQ. But David, you could also, if you go to your Skyward, your educator access, and you go to that student, you can also look up the student's email and password.
Right.
And you could send that, then just email that to the parent.
Yeah.
As well.
Thanks.
So Angie, if we want to do a Zoom meeting with maybe an entire class of students, just invite students to join at a particular time, should we invite parents to that if it's more than a handful of students, or is the parent invite really just for like one-on-one or small group?
Yeah, you don't have to invite the parents to the Zoom meeting if you're inviting your class, but I would definitely just email parents and just say, I'm going to be hosting like Zoom for students to get on and video with conference with me, just so parents are aware.
Okay, thank you.
If you have a family or parent that reaches out with some pretty serious, something serious around social, emotional well-being or needs, it's really important to just communicate directly and immediately with your school principal so that principals can respond and connect those people with services and support. And then there's work that was taking place prior to the closure is going to need to be continued in some way. So this is just for you to be aware. If you were a part of K-5 literacy work, if you were a part of the elementary master schedule committee, those are the two really that are applicable to elementary school. You may be getting a Zoom invite for a continued meeting. There was actually a meeting scheduled, I think for Monday for the elementary master schedule committee. That meeting will be canceled, but there would be, there's probably gonna be something sent out to continue that work during the closure. Ramping up, April 27th remains the restart date. So when we come back to school on April 27th, there will be 8 weeks remaining in the school year. So you can expect that last week of the closure to have invites to virtual meetings to sort of get started on thinking around what the rest of the year looks like, especially related to content. And so this is just something an expectation. Okay. So if you are welcome at this point. I'm going to exit this. I'm going to stop sharing. You're welcome at this point to just down at the bottom right-hand corner, it says end meeting. You can, or leave meeting, you can leave the meeting. You're welcome to. Abigail Ross just put a really great question on around, is equity an issue when you're using Zoom meetings? And I'll just say that you need to be, have the understanding with everything you do that there will be students that won't have access, potentially, or you know, whether that is because of technology or just because of just they don't physically like have the ability because of their what's happening at their home or their family. So that needs to be understood in everything that you do. So feel free to leave, and please follow up with me. I'll send a follow-up out. But if you have questions you'd like to ask, have at it.
Hi, Angie. Pat here.
Hi, Pat.
I've got internet.
Yay!
I'm in the 20s. So I've got a question about Eureka or Engage, I guess, that link with Dwayne Fletchy. Is it being sent to parents so they can look at the great resources there? Do you know if that's been shared?
I'm not sure what link you're talking about, Pat, exactly. Is it like a...
He actually does the lessons and shows strategies that we've been using. It's got Google Slides also, I think.
Yeah, is it the Embark?
Embark, that's it. I always mess that up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I got it. I think, so Embark is interesting because it really is meant for teachers and not parents.
Yeah.
Although I think there are some great parent resources, and there's no reason why you couldn't send something strategic from that site home to parents to like look at.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hey, Angie.
Hi.
Hi. So I might have missed this, but when have the parents been notified about this new ASD Learns?
So that's happening later today.
Okay, okay.
Be an email out from the district.
Okay.
Sort of sharing that and maybe some other information. It's going to be important though that all of you also make contact early next week. The agenda to this meeting that you got in an email that came from Mark Wenzel has, which the agenda to this meeting that we're in right now has an attachment that is some guidance for teachers. It even has like sort of a beginning sort of sample email you could send. I'll share that. But I, you know, in addition to what gets sent out from the district, I think it's going to be important that every one of you send something initially right away at the beginning of next week that sort of reiterates everything.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if I should send it home, like be looking for this, you know, I could send it before Monday, but maybe I should wait till the district sends it and then do it, maybe.
Yeah, and that'll go out today. Is that right, Casey? It'll come out today.
Okay.
Susan Anderson asked a question about Zern, and I had a question about Freckle. So the district has gone ahead, Robert has gone ahead and purchased Zern, a site license for all elementary buildings. And he's working with, you know, adding them as a vendor and getting payroll to or getting the finance department to get it paid for. But we are going to get Zern soon. So if you have not used Zern with your class yet this year and you haven't rostered students or set up an account for them, don't do it now, because as soon as that site license is purchased, classes will all be rostered automatically through Clever, and your kids will have an account automatic, and it'll just be on your Clever. So once that happens, I might touch base with grade level teams about going in and assigning a module if you haven't already done that, or just anybody who hasn't done it yet, to decide where to put kids in that and how to get that set up. Megan?
And
yep.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Angie.
if I've been using Zern all year, so if they're now signed in through his, like, does it lose all the records and progress that are in my current class that I've established in Zern?
So that's what we're a little unsure of. So when the kids are all rostered through Clever, Robert and I are not exactly sure how that's going to merge with what you already have. And so we are going to have to sort of troubleshoot that as it happens, Megan. And it may just mean that you just have to go back in and reassign students where you want them to start working. The nice thing about having the paid version is that you can actually have the ability to assign like individual lessons, like lesson by lesson to kids. So it doesn't have to be like at a module or topic level. It's much more flexible in that way. You also, I know some of you have felt frustration because you can't like move kids forward the way you want to. If they're like kind of like stuck somewhere, you'll be able to do that with the paid version. And then sort of the reports you get as far as like information on data around what kids have done and completed and how they're doing on it will be more extensive too. So that's kind of the benefit. The one downside is that we might have to deal with some issues when in merging those two, sort of the way you've been doing it with the new way once it happens, and we'll have to figure that out. Freckle's the other one that Robert has gotten a subscription to. So all students are now rostered on Freckle, and there's no expectation that anyone is going to dig deep into that and set it up and get moving on it, but it's there for you. And students, they'll have it like if they're rostered on Clever, so they can get on with their badge and just start playing around with it. But if you want as a teacher to go into Freckle and start investigating that resource and figuring out how you might use it, that would be a great thing to do. Anything else? Anything at all?
Angie?
Yes?
One of the questions was, can we record these and then place them on our Google Classroom or whatever and not meet live?
The Zoom call?
Yeah. I mean, so like if we wanted to do something or just like a recording and then record it on or put the link on our Zoom, I mean, on our Google Classroom, then that would work as opposed to doing it live.
Yes. So, I mean, there's if you don't want to have it live at all, Danica, there's probably lots of different ways to,
yeah, other ways to record it too,
but you can record the Zoom. When you set up the Zoom meeting, one of the features that you click is to record.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's, you'll record sort of in the cloud. It'll save it there and it's on your Zoom, like it's in your account. So on Zoom, one of your menu options is recordings. So you go there, you can see all your recordings and you have the option to download them. So you can download the recording, you can do different things with it. So yeah, even if you are doing something live on Zoom, if you want to have the ability to like share it out later to other people, I would suggest recording it.
Okay, thank you.
I think someone else had a question, or maybe it was Tara that mentioned it in the chat too, but if we are thinking about recording the Zoom meetings, how does that work with kids and parents that have a no photo release or no video release submitted? Like if one of those students is in the call, then we couldn't record it, right?
Yeah, Angie, I'm just wondering if some of these Zoom questions we should talk with Robert about in terms of.
I know, honey.
Especially with student privacy, Robert is the one to ask that of because he is an expert in that area. So I agree. If you're going to do that, I would ask Robert.
Well, maybe I can ask her, Angie, and we can kind of do a, email or explanation to all, because I think everyone has seen, wow, this Zoom thing is really cool, has a lot of potential for kids, but we want to make sure that we're being careful about privacy and stuff. I think recording them could be very problematic. So anyway, but that's a question for Robert. Maybe we can get back to people.
Yeah.
Angie, would Zoom work for something like if I wanted to do a read aloud to my class and push it out to my whole class? Would something like that work?
It would, Mary, but you can also, I mean, absolutely, you can record yourself on Zoom, but you can also just use like the camera, you know, video feature on your laptop and record a video that way too. So there's different ways to do it. If you want to, you know, experiment with that, or if you have questions, you can let me know.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody's reading the chat. Elizabeth Ritter just said that she was able to merge her free Freckle account with the district one yesterday easily, but they changed the classroom code. So she said she did have to send a new classroom code out to families, but the things she had been having kids do on Freckle on the free account was still all there when it merged with the district one. I'm hoping that happens with Zern, that those of you that have been using Zern, the free account, your things will not be lost when it merges.
So I'm wondering, for people that have used Google Classroom, I haven't done that, but is it intuitive enough to where as a staff, like if we learned how to set up a Google Classroom, like it's intuitive enough that a student, or maybe along with some parent support, might be able to figure it out as well?
For what? To use?
I'm sorry, Google Classroom.
I mean, it would depend on what you're using it for. Yeah, I mean, if you're using it for like Google Docs and Google things like that, but Chad, there's also links to all of that on Clever. You know, you'd have to decide if you want to use Clever and just have things there versus the classroom.
Oh, okay.
Well,
even posting videos, like, so if we had, like Mary talked about, we posted a read aloud video, that's easy enough to post to our teacher page on Clever?
That might not be.
Right, but actually the Google Classroom is a link on your Clever page. So they can still access Google Classroom through Clever.
But if they haven't learned how to use Google Classroom, is it intuitive enough for them to easily figure?
I think it is.
And Chad, I think you can find some videos that you could send with it that would show them how to use it. I think there's several, there's lots of videos that you could just attach a YouTube one to. Well, that's another question. Can they access YouTube now that they're not, if they're on a district computer, they can't, right?
So Chad, I set up a Google Classroom and I haven't sent it out yet for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders at Island View. And it's pretty simple. Like if you set it up the right way, all they have to do is you get a class code that they use to log in. And then they just hit one button and then they can see all of the videos that you've posted, and you can organize them into categories too. I think it would be pretty simple for 3rd graders to figure out.
Something to think about with the read alouds, and I made this mistake. My students asked me to make them a YouTube channel, and I recorded a bunch of read alouds yesterday, and then my librarian friend texted me and said, you need to check copyright. A lot of publishers saying like, hey, you're totally welcome to post my read alouds. However, some of the ones I already edited should not be online. So do your research. Don't do what I did yesterday.
Oh.
But a lot of people are saying like Mo Williams is okay with it. But there's links and lists out there, and email me if you want them. So
if you're not.
I think if you're putting it on a Google Classroom that is just for your students and it doesn't, other people on the web don't have access to it, it's different than if it's just on YouTube out there for anyone. So that's where the Google Classroom idea comes in super handy. Like that's a place where you could put things that are protected and won't be out to the masses. So, and Chad, also to answer your question, Google Classroom is super intuitive. I think it's a super great place to put things and house things, and house PDFs, like Kelsey was talking about PDFs that you might want to share and things like that. Sometimes those might be better housed there rather than Clever. So it's something to think about.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Angie, this is Tony. I don't have a classroom, but I'm thinking about doing read alouds. How would I do that?
I mean, that's a good question, Tony. I had talked yesterday with Octavia about how she could share things that teachers could put on their pages. And so that might be one way, is if you have a video that you want teachers to share out. You know, if it's a video that could be easily emailed, but that's tricky sometimes with the data, with how much data it takes. But if it's something that could be shared out to teachers and they could put it on their Clever pages or their Google Classrooms, that might be the best way.
So Tony, my thinking with YouTube is a lot of my students are on there, like that's a platform they're on all the time. And it comes with extra loopholes with copyright and stuff, but then teachers could share out those links, but then it would be easy to share those links online. I mean, it's a different platform, you'd have to think about that, but that's why I'm taking that route. I don't know if I like it yet, but.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I'm sorry, if I could like put it on Anacortes Learns or something, just have a link that if people want to go to SEL, I could have some recorded lessons and just have those that people could access as they want to, you know, maybe per grade level or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So the Anacortes Learns is a great place to put anything that we want all kids across the district to have access to. My other thought, Tony, was at when students at Island View go to the Clever page or whatever building you're in, the sort of the main Clever page is building specific. So different buildings have asked Robert to put different things on their Clever pages for their building. So if you sent something to Robert, he could link it to the Island View Clever page so that all Island View kids, as they get on Clever, have that. But if it's something that you want to share across the district with all kids, we could do it on the Anacortes Learns site.
Okay, I guess I could talk to the other counselors and decide how we do that. If we want to be building specific, it sounds like the Clever page might be a better way to do that. Okay, thanks.
Angie, if we need technical support to accomplish some of these goals, who do we contact? You or Michelle or?
You can definitely.
Yeah, like Google Classroom and stuff. I've never done it.
Yeah, we're happy to help you with that. And
would Jen also be a resource for teachers?
Jen is a resource. She's more like on the technical side. So if it's dealing with like instruction in terms of, you know, wanting to set something up, you know, for your class, I think Michelle and I could do that definitely. And Robert is also another resource, but Marian, we're happy to help you.
Yeah, okay. I have a lot of ideas running through my head, but I'm not sure how to execute it.
And I mean, I didn't say this on the call, but I think we also want to be aware that too much is overwhelming to families. I think Mark mentioned that in his opening thing this morning. So, you know, I think especially if it's something brand new that students that you haven't been using yet in your classroom, you know, just like we don't want to be introducing new content.
Right.
We want to be leery around introducing new web-based things and platforms and different ways of interacting, although it's an opportunity to try something, I think, too. And so maybe it's one thing, it's Google Classroom.
Yeah. Well, I just thought a read aloud might be comforting and something that they're used to me doing with them.
I mean, any way that you can get your sort of, I think, a face in front of students, whether it's via just a video you've recorded or some way like that, I think that would help reassure students. So, yeah.
Well, for example, go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
just thrilled to see you on this and navigating, like, and so many of us who never knew how to use this. I didn't know how to use any of these things.
I think it's pretty fun, actually.
Right.
But
So
I get kind of caught in different places where I don't, you know, for example, I want a different background, but I don't have pictures somehow. So I don't know how to do that. And little things, you know, that kind of stump me.
I mean, this is an opportunity for all of us to expand ourselves in some way. And
Right.
it's it's a tough time, but I feel so good to see all of you here, and just seeing your faces is thrilling to me.
I think the question is always, are we doing enough? You know, that's always what we feel, even in a regular situation.
And I think Michelle, what you just said, it proves a point that how happy we felt seeing our, colleagues, how happy our students would see to see everyone from class on Zoom. It just instantly we're all happier anyway. So it'd be kind of good for us to reach out to our students with Zoom.
So I have a quick question, Angie.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, so, with this new content, I'm a little bit confused. So does it mean that we just need to wait on the new content until we hear from the districts and just continue with the lessons that we left off from, and just kind of help with reviewing that, and if they need questions, answer those questions, but still they're allowed to kind of explore new content if they want to?
Yes, that's right. And I think we need to just be aware that if we are sending along something that's new content that we want kids to sort of start exploring, that when they come back to school on April 27th, you're students that haven't done that.
Yes.
We know that. And so it just can be, it has to be something where that would be okay.
Okay.
Like if I do assign, module 5 of first grade, which is the geometry module on Zern, and I have kids engaging in that geometry work, new, they haven't done it yet. I would have to be okay with them not doing it potentially when we get back, which should maybe be okay, because that might be the module we don't get to this year. 4 weeks, 5 weeks of sort of missed instruction. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so like, for example, if when we do get back, starting from the beginning of that module for every student to have access to it would be the best way to do it.
Right, and part of what will happen the week before restarting school is there's going to be, and I said this on a slide, there will be Zoom sort of meetings set up for grade levels to come together and decisions around what you're going to cut.
Yes.
Scope and sequence and content, because you aren't going to have time to get to everything this year with 5 weeks of instruction gone.
Yes.
So if there's something that you're anticipating, okay, this is a math module that we're going to probably all together cut out. It's not major work of the grade. It's not something we're going to be able to make time for when we get back to school. Then assigning that during this break is fine. And it's just not something you're going to get to.
Okay.
In the future. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, but there will have to be decisions made around content that is eliminated in the year, because there's no way around that.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
And I think all of you know this, but we are not, there will be no Smarter Balanced test this year. This has canceled that. So it's going to alleviate some stress around that and give you back some more instructional time, because that was time consuming. But you still want to be preparing students for their next school year.
Exactly. That's great.
Some content you'd really need to not skip, because it is what kids need to prepare them for next year. Discussions the week before we return to school.
Yes. Okay.
I'm wondering a little bit about writing. I haven't looked at your 360 Learns yet. Maybe some stuff is on there, but just how to keep kids writing during this time. So Michelle, you're still there, or Angie?
Well, and we have, so that's part of what's on the ASD Learn site, is like we did have, I think, 30 minutes a day writing.
The schedule, yeah.
And then we had some digital resources in terms of like writing prompts and things that could help support kids with writing. But we also had a long list of, different activities that students could engage in with writing. But if you have other things that you want to pass along to families, absolutely feel free to do that.
Do you think, like, if we direct them to 360 Learns and they have that resource, do you think it's best for us to specify what we want them to do, or let them just choose when they look at what's there?
I mean, Mary, I think that's really like up to you and your professional judgment. And I
Well,
think
given that parents are the ones that are going to be working with it, I didn't know how directive we wanted to be.
right. Michelle, do you have anything else about that with writing?
Well, I was just going to say, you know, the writing piece is at the very basic level, you could have kids keep a journal of
Yeah.
I included links to paper choices if people did have a desire to print off like paper choices so kids could make books.
Yeah.
Just documenting this time in history could be amazing. And that's like one of the things I think about, like giving kids this broader view that they are experiencing something that is really worth writing about. So going back to Lucy's live that writerly life, like capture what other people are thinking and saying and what you do during a day at home. Like that's what I would communicate to.
That's a good idea.
Capture this time and the adventures you have. See it as an adventure. The year we had, 8 weeks off of school or whatever.
Make a photo diary or something.
Anything that gets them thinking about documenting this time period.
It's a really good idea. It's a good idea. And I think for teachers, it's probably good for us to keep a little bit of a diary as well. For example, I know our meeting is going to be over here and there's lots of learning we can do, but is the expectation that we stay engaged with our computer in this work till 3:30 today? I mean, I just wonder, what are the parameters of these things? Do you know what I mean?
Also, that came up in our breakout session, and a teacher said that she had received like 26 emails, and she was feeling really overwhelmed from kids and from parents. And I'm not sure, Angie, chime in on this, but we had started to say something like, in your email responses to parents, you might want to say, I will try to get back to you within 24 hours, because you're going to have kids and parents email you outside of your contracted day. And you don't have to respond.
No, I understand that. I guess I'm just wondering, above and beyond that, are we expected to stay engaged at our computer till like the end of our contracted day?
No. I think, Mary.
You know what I mean? Can you go for a walk even though it's 1 o'clock and it's not your lunchtime?
I think you have to do what's best for your own like schedule and mental health, and nothing about this is normal and typical.
Okay.
I agree. Like, it's the contract sort of language that we bargained or partnered with the district on. They want to avoid using the word bargain. So that we partnered with them on was around within a reasonable amount of time. We're going to respond to families. And
Angie?
Yes, go ahead, Abigail.
I had written a note to Toral when we were together earlier asking the same thing. Someone had said something about, not being out too much during the contracted day that parents see us. So I said, does that mean no walks? Can I not run to the grocery store? And she wrote back and said, do what makes sense. We trust you as a professional. So.
Okay, thank you, Abby. That was kind of basically my question.
Yeah, it was helpful to have her clarify that. So I'm going with it.
That's great. And Jamie just put in the chat, on a regular school day, you can't answer a phone or text from a parent immediately. Like, so.
Yeah, my question wasn't really just about answering parents. It was just in general, our behavior.
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking about, from a parent perspective, of this idea of overwhelmed. If all teachers are sort of required to reach out weekly to parents, for me, with my 4 boys, they have like 25 teachers collectively. So like my inbox is going to be filled every week with no less than 25 emails from all of my boys' different teachers. So that's overwhelming to me too, you know. So we when we're reaching out to families, we need to also be aware of that, you know, I think a reach out, a connection can be simple, and doesn't need to be complicated every time.
Brave new world. I really want to get a new background. I got to figure that out today.
Okay, so I can do a Zoom call next week with a tutorial on how to change your background.
It's the simple thing. Ooh, look at that.
Oh, I like that.
Angie, can I was playing with it.
Where do you get these pictures?
You have to upload it yourself.
So you have to save one from like I just searched online for one and saved it. And
oh, okay, okay.
Angie, I was gonna ask, because that just got me thinking, like being bombarded with multiple teacher emails if you have more kids in the district. Are we supposed to be emailing the parents, or can we send a weekly email to our students, or is the expectation that it is to the parents?
I'm going to go back to the language, Shaylin, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because I just want to see what it says. Let me find it. This is the letter of agreement between ASD and AEA. And it's right here. It says AEA members will communicate with families weekly. So to offer social emotional support and remind families of optional enrichment learning activities as appropriate. So to me, that includes parents if it says families.
Thank you.
This document, which is our letter of agreement, again, it came to you in an email that was sent jointly by Erin Gibson and Mark Wenzel. I believe they sent it out on Wednesday afternoon. So if you're looking for it, it's attached to that email. And if you can't find it and want to refer to it, sometime you can email me and let me know. I can reshare it with you.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question, Angie.
Okay.
Can you get Zoom on your phone?
You can.
So you would just download the app?
Yep.
And then
I often use Zoom on my phone instead of a computer.
Parents don't have to have the Zoom app to join, or kids. It goes to like a web browser. So they don't have to have Zoom app to be in a Zoom meeting.
Awesome. Okay.
We did that yesterday with the IEP.
And but actually on your phone, Kelsey, you don't have to have it on your phone either?
If they're invited to it, it just pulls it up. Like the parent didn't have the Zoom app. It just, yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I think you're right. As long as you
you're right. Okay. You're right. In fact, like if I schedule a Zoom meeting, the way that I usually go later and access that meeting, or if I'm invited to one, is like I just put it on my Google Calendar. Mm-hmm. And then the link is on that calendar invite. So the way that I usually get to a Zoom meeting is I literally go into my calendar, which I can do on my phone, and click the link through my calendar, and it'll just come up, the meeting will, on your phone or your computer, and you don't have to like download the app. You can download a Zoom app also on your phone. So there's multiple ways that it works. If you send a link though to a family and their only way to access that link is through their phone, like email on their phone, they can click the link through their email and they'll be able to join the meeting without having any app downloaded or anything like that. So like families that maybe don't have a laptop but have like an iPad or a phone, if they can access their email through that device, they can get on a Zoom meeting through the email link that you've emailed out. Okay, is there anything else?
Maybe later.
Okay,
Oh,
please,
thank you,
please,
Amy, Michelle.
you're
I can tell
welcome.
You guys are working really hard, so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So what's the best way to reach you guys? Just email? Okay.
Please reach out.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. It's good to see you all.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.